Be manageable already. We see Club Med bond yields spiking. The Portuguese 3-year bonds 170 basis points up in the past couple of days. The stock markets the Greek one is down 18% in a week, but all the stock markets are down this week as a consequence of that. Is it contagious, or can the contagion be contained?
I think I agree with Alistair. It probably can be contained in pure financial terms. Of course, financial markets will try to reassess the amount of political risk that is there in the Eurozone. But as we saw now in Greece, it really takes a political crisis in a country, a change in government, for that to happen, that a country is threatening to go out. So in a future crisis, let's say a political crisis in, say, Italy, and in that case, it would be that's the point where the contagion would show. So as you rightly said, we already see some reassessment of risk, but that is probably just a short-term upheaval in markets.
What about the consequences for Britain? We're not in the Eurozone, and our banks are not exposed to Greek debt, either Greek bank debt or Greek sovereign debt. There are always bound to be ripple effects, but could it actually enhance the safe haven status that Britain's debt has at the moment?
It could well, and it could also enhance sterling's value. I mean, sterling has actually shot up.
It has.
In fact, there's been, secret monetary tightening here because of sterling going up. And also, people might want to invest more in sterling assets. So again, you might have more foreign direct investment, or also capital flows, people buying houses, people buying shares, and so on. So I think this is positive for the UK. It shows that we're outside of the euro. It also shows it was a right decision for us to remain outside of the euro. But I also think it opens up a set of other questions when it comes to the big renegotiation agenda. Because if one country can actually withdraw from a whole bunch of EU institutions, then why can we not? So I think it strengthens our hand in that way also.
Nigel Farage, still your leader, I understand, he urged Greece to stand up to the EU and said the free world will applaud them.
I think that's absolutely right.
Really?
Actually,
which part of the free world is applauding them?
This bit that's sitting in this chair, certainly anyway, and I'm sure people feel the same way.
So the free world is you?
I think no, Alistair's hit the nail on the head, hasn't he? This has been a standoff between the EU and Greece, and both have a huge amount to lose. But actually, I think it's the EU that has most to lose when push comes to shove.
So what do you think Greece should do?
It's the failure of the whole project. Well, in the short term, there would be enormous turmoil if they were to leave the euro. Now, President Schulz said a couple of days ago that if they leave the euro, they will also have to leave the European Union.
That's unlikely,
that's not what
actually.
Greece wants to happen. But I think it's probably actually what they should do.
So you're in favour of countries reneging on their debts?
I think I'm in favour of freedom, of democracy, and I think Greece, if the Greek government wants to care about its people, and a government has to put its own people first, then that's what's going to be best. They want to stay.
Well,
is it actually the right thing? They want two things at once.
But if they leave, they renege on their debt. Because if they leave the euro and they have to go to the drachma, they still have to pay their debts back in euros, and the drachma will plummet against the euro. There's no way they can do that. They will be in default. Is that a good thing for a country to do?
I think they will have. When are they ever going to pay their debts back anyway? They're in the most impossible situation at the moment. You yourself said in terms of the Eurozone, it's just 2% of their GDP. The tourism industry alone is 15% of Greek GDP. That will boom if they actually come out. If they go back to the drachma, abandon the euro, I think Greece will have a sterling chance of getting its own economy back on its own feet, like Iceland did after its crash. It wasn't reliant on the EU. We had short-term.
Iceland wasn't in the.
Iceland wasn't in the European Union, and that was actually one of its saving graces. Like as we said, ours is staying in the pound, and long may it last. We must never join the euro.
Let me just get you. You know what you hope will happen, but what you think will happen. What's your guess? By the end of the month, will Greece be heading for the exit of the euro?
I suspect there'll be another compromise of some kind, but that Greece will be ejected in some way from the euro within the next 6 months or so.
In the next 6 months, what do you?
I think there will be a deal made, and I don't think it will be ejected because nobody really wants it, and most of all the Greek people.
Well, we will both have you back to see.
Will you put the bet in drachma or euro?
I'll hold the bet.
I bet you will.
I suspect the Americans will have some of a say on this now. They're terrified of the geopolitical consequences on NATO's southeast flank. That's becoming a big issue for them.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.